Hello everyone. We are here this month with our Radical Remission Healing Story for September. And my name is Kelly Turner, and I'm the founder of the Radical Remission Project. And today we're interviewing a dear friend of mine, Jeannine Walston. So, Jeannine, just say hello so they can see you.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Jeannine is going to tell us her story of how she healed from brain cancer. And she has an incredible story that has lasted now for 15 years. She has 15 years since her diagnosis, which is really incredible, especially when you hear how serious her diagnosis was. And Jeannine, I'm just so happy that you agreed to do this interview, and I really think that the viewers are going to learn a lot from this incredible journey you've been on.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 1998 at age 24.
Wow.
I was going on a completely different path. And as I entered the cancer world, over the last 15 years, I've learned so much for optimal health and healing. When I was diagnosed, I collected multiple opinions, and I chose to have awake brain surgery at the National Institutes of Health. It was early in the time within the conventional cancer community to do awake brain surgery, but it just seemed logical, dealing with a brain tumor in the left temporal lobe, speech, memory, and sound. And thankfully, NIH removed the entire tumor and some surrounding tissue.
Wow, wow. And can you just bring the viewers up to speed? What was your particular type of brain tumor? Because there's quite a few different kinds, and they're all known to have, different courses of disease. Can you tell us the exact type and stage that you had?
Yes. The NIH said it was a grade 2 oligodendroglioma. Now, this is an important example from my journey. I then moved to Johns Hopkins for an appointment with the neuro-oncologist, and the pathologist there, 3 months later, they made a mistake in actually doing it, and it was my follow-up to get their opinion. They then told me that I have, in their opinion, a oligoastrocytoma, and the pathologist there thought it was a grade 3, mentioning some chemotherapy and radiation, which was shocking to me to get conflicting information and not knowing what to do. So logically, I had a third opinion to the Mayo Clinic, and I was told there that I had a grade 2 oligodendroglioma. I then moved to Memorial Sloan Kettering, where they said it was a mixed stage 2 oligoastrocytoma. Well, that's what I've been dealing with.
You got the two answers, like the two different types, from 4 different places.
Yes, yes. It's always really important to collect multiple opinions.
Right, right. And just so my viewers know, I study 3 types of radical remission survivors. First are people who are diagnosed with cancer and choose never to do any Western medicine. The second type are the people who do try Western medicine to its fullest, but it doesn't work, so they're usually sent home on hospice. And at that time, they switch to alternative and then turn things around at that time. And then the third type is your type, Jeannine, which is people who use Western and complementary medicine at the same time, concurrently, in order to overcome a very serious prognosis, which I define as anything that has less than a 25% chance of survival at 5 years, which your diagnoses both do. So, you were dealing, regardless of, exactly which stage and which type, and it depends on which pathologist is looking at it under the slide to see, whether they put you at a 2 or a 3. But regardless of those 2 different diagnoses, you were dealing with something really serious here.
Cancer is serious, and healing requires ongoing attention. That's what is required, scientifically, and it was also logically for me. I perceived that I had some imbalances in my physical body and other aspects of my life, and that's been the path for me over the last 15 years. And I've learned a lot, over each day, each week, each month, each year, and it's grown into integrative cancer care for the whole person, the entire physical body, mind, spirit, social, and environmental health. In the beginning, it was acupuncture and herbs, craniosacral therapy, supplements, support groups, shamanic studies, starting to connect with the spirit. And I was just scratching the surface. It was with some important aspects and complementary, but not going deep enough into my healing. And when I was informed of my recurrence, that certainly took me to deeper levels of self.
Great, great. Yeah, thanks for starting to touch on that, and I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit later in our interview today. Can you just briefly kind of tell us the treatments that you did then? So you started with that awake brain surgery. I know you had further surgeries, which, because you had recurrences. Did you also have chemo and radiation ever?
I have not had chemotherapy and radiation. I've used a lot of other types of therapies. After my awake brain surgery in 1998, I've used hundreds of integrative cancer therapies. When I was informed of my recurrence, I went on a raw foods retreat for 3 weeks, and that was incredible. That's when I finally started to incorporate some improvements in my diet, foods throughout the day. And I made shifts in my life, and I moved. And speaking to the therapies themselves, I then went to ultimately clinics in Europe. I went to a cancer clinic in Cologne, Germany, for 6 months. Without success, I then went to the Paracelsus Clinic in Switzerland. It's a beautiful place with major improvements in my quality of life. But with cancer growth, I then made another next step to the Nicholas Gonzalez protocol. I did that for 2.5 years.
Could you just tell people briefly, because obviously I'm familiar with Dr. Gonzalez's work, but many of the viewers aren't. He's a doctor in New York, an integrative oncologist, and do you want to say a bit about his supplement program?
Nicholas Gonzalez is a medical doctor in New York City, working with a lot of cancer patients. He's done this for decades with some success. It's a massive protocol, and I was completely committed to my responsibilities on a daily existence through the Gonzalez protocol, which include over 200 supplements throughout the day, timed throughout the day, especially pancreatic enzymes, including in the middle of the night, 3:30 in the morning. Coffee enemas in the morning and afternoon. Foods, which I always eat well. It's a commitment to eating really well with juicing and with liver gallbladder cleanses. He does other types of cleanses based on the patients. For me, it was liver gallbladder cleanse every 20 days for 4 days, and that was always very cleansing in my experience. It was 2.5 years, and again, it didn't work for me. And at that point, I returned to Germany to a different clinic, the Biomed Clinic. I went over 9 months, 4 times, and it did not provide benefits to the tumor growth. And I had my second awake brain surgery, September 1st of 2011, and my healing continues.
Wow, wow. So, obviously when you were first diagnosed, you were dealing with this sort of 5-year sentence that you didn't really have good chances of living for more than 5 years. It's now been 15 years, but it has been a journey. I mean, you've really tried, to move to Germany for 6 months, to do the Gonzalez treatment for 2.5 years. I mean, I can just see some of the people listening to this video thinking, oh my God, 200 pills a day for 2 years? Are you kidding me? So that brings me to the heart of this interview, which is, what has worked for actually helping your cancer? What have been, if you had to give maybe the top 3 things that were most important for you to be able to get through this journey and to continue to work on your healing, what would those 3 things be?
Well, certainly integrative cancer care for the whole person. So I'll start with the entire physical body, addressing all aspects of the physical body. And that's diet, foods on a daily basis, what we consume and what we choose. And every body, every being, it's individualized care. So not everyone should be eating the same foods each and every day. And there are a lot of studies showing anti-cancer foods, like vegetables, herbs. Turmeric is extremely powerful. Rosemary, mint, basil. You know, it's really tasty. And for me, I've needed to have proteins as well. I can't just eat vegetables, so I have really clean fish, which is extremely supportive to how I feel on a daily basis. Supplements have been really Supplements have been really important. Looking at different vitamins and alpha-lipoic acid and N-acetylcarnitine for glutathione detoxification. You know, building my immune system in the process. Looking at doing blood tests, looking at anti-inflammation and high sensitivity C-reactive protein, looking at blood sugar levels, hemoglobin A1C, you know, and vitamin D. Simple blood tests, really important. I've also worked with some functional medicine doctors doing tests looking at stool and hormones and neurotransmitters and heavy metals and identifying what imbalances are in my system to then ascertain what is necessary with improvements. You know, sometimes needing to take some drugs and sometimes additional supplements and dietary changes. And reducing stress levels is so important. We are in 2013 with a lot of stress in this world, huge responsibilities, and we need to not put that pressure on ourselves. If cortisol levels increase, that can support tumor growth. You know, that's one minor portion of reasons to reduce stress levels, and we should just be happy. we should be happy and experience joy and feel that internally, and that's worth living. You know, that's what we need to experience.
Definitely. And just so viewers probably know this, but cortisol is, of course, the stress hormone. And as you mentioned, cortisol increases the chance of cancer thriving in your body. It's a tumor enhancer. And feeling joy and feeling happy and stuff, those are actually tumor reducers because they give so many benefits to the immune system. You know, I just read a fascinating study about how, you know, after just an hour of watching a funny film, your natural killer cell activity is greatly increased. And natural killer cells are what actually take down cancer. So, okay, so just to summarize then, it sounds like you really have embraced the physical part of diet and supplements and monitoring your body with blood tests. And then there's also been this mental emotional piece for you of reducing stress and really also finding joy. Is that a good summary so far?
Yes, excellent summary.
So now I know that you've had an up and down journey in terms of you tried a lot of these things, but they didn't quite work for tumor growth. They might have made you happier or improved your quality of life, but your tumor would keep growing. What do you make of that? Do you think then that they aren't necessary, or do you think that they were helping you all along from having the tumor just go crazy and take over?
It's practical science. It's logical to take these actions for improvements. What that happens for each individual can't be fully predicted. And to me, it's logical to incorporate these aspects to improve the entire physical body. I'm aware of what I've experienced. I'm aware of what thousands of cancer patients I've known have endured, and with major improvements. And again, I know the science, so I think it's very important. And we never know what's going to happen. We never know what we're going to experience in life. But being proactive is complete empowerment. And I feel joy in the process. You know, I'm not gonna sit around and do nothing. I'm gonna take care of myself. I love myself. I want to do more for myself. And the more I can do, the more possibilities I have for improving my quality of life and survival. It's a step-by-step journey, and I absolutely recommend it to myself and cancer patients.
Great, yeah, and I'm so glad you brought up that point about it being empowering, because you know, some people view changing their diet or taking a lot of supplements as such a burden and such a sacrifice. But if you see it as a way for you to actually have control over your body's own cancer fighting abilities, it turns into something empowering, just like you said.
Absolutely. It's full responsibility. It's empowerment, and studies show that when people are proactive in their experience, they live longer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, is that if those were the first two things that were most important for your healing, the first being the physical part, the second part being the mental, emotional piece, what would the third most important part of your healing be?
Well, I actually have more to share about mental and emotional. That's my point too, and
Oh, good.
it's
I like that topic. So let's hear what you have to say on that.
mental and emotional healing is addresses the mind-body connection, and Candace Pert has done a lot of research, and her findings show that the mind and the body are one. Other studies show the importance of thinking positively and feeling well with well-being, with wellness. In my healing journey, I've learned a lot about feelings, thoughts, beliefs, actions, ego, and God. And I went on a retreat with Dr. Symington several years ago, and he taught me about feelings, thoughts, and beliefs. And I, at that point, was getting to know more about my belief system and more aspects of my identity, you know, who I am, what I feel, and being able to track what I'm feeling and trying to restructure, you know, with some success. It's an ongoing basis of feeling well with wellness. I then learned more about the ego structure doing the 5 rhythms and through Gabrielle Roth and getting to know the ego structure, and I've learned it in other directions, getting to know patterns of myself and patterns in people and the transformation and the actions I'm taking on a daily basis. And ultimately, you know, as I've developed knowledge about feelings, thoughts, beliefs, and ego structure, I've had awareness about separations with isolation and connections with expansiveness into oneness and wholeness. And when I'm connected into larger aspects of myself, you know, visible and invisible, I'm much more at peace. And that's my goal for healing, to incorporate that more fully in my life. And I think that's very important for people in their healing journey to at least address feelings, thoughts, beliefs, and ego structure, to have a better mind-body connection. And movement is so important. Emotions are, in the Latin meaning is to move. You know, we're feeling, we're moving. We have to move that. We can't be stuck. And there are definite studies showing that cancer patients have these blocks in cancer patients, and sometimes they're too stuck in various directions. Sometimes they're not expressing their fear, their anger, their sadness, and other times they're not. But it needs to be in a balanced way. It needs to be feeling and healing, and again, not in patterns, and that's very important in healing for the mind-body connection.
So it sounds like you've done a lot of work of looking at your own emotional patterns that were there, you know, before diagnosis, and changing them in a way that makes you feel happier and freer and less blocked. Is that right?
Yes, I'm a human being, and there are aspects of mental and emotional dynamics that need improvements, and I've attended that. And it's also related to the entire physical body. You know, when I'm eating, you know, if I'm eating a lot of sugar, I feel awful. You know, I feel in fact some sadness, and I feel my immune system compromised. And you know, when I'm not stressed, my nervous system is really whacked. And so it's not just patterns and frustrations for aspects of self. It's a choice, but it can be through the entire physical body, and what can be made on a daily basis for, again, you know, healthy foods and stress reductions and other aspects.
Yeah. And you seem to be touching also into the spiritual aspect of things when you said that sometimes you reach that place of expansiveness and oneness, which many of my research subjects define as a spiritual connection or spiritual energy that they feel in their body. Would you define that as spirituality or?
Yes, that's my my third emphasis to share is of spirit, and we are connected to something larger than ourselves. And in my healing journey, I've very much connected to spirit and spirituality, to further embodiment of soul and spirit. And in that process, as I've connected with my soul and my soul's evolution, that's connected me with a lot of healing, to get to know who I am and what I'm meant to do in this lifetime, and to feel that support. Again, we're never alone. And it was a process as I began my healing journey, and with the terror of mortality, and not knowing what to do, and where to go, and how to be in this existence. As I've connected with spirit, it's been a glorious experience, and it's an ongoing dance. It's an ongoing process, and I'm consciously aware of eternal life. I know that we continue, and that gives me beauty and joy.
Wow. So, I mean, anyone who's facing a cancer diagnosis is, suddenly has to face their death, whether they have faced that in the past or not. When you hear the words cancer, that's what's on your mind. Has this exploration into mind, body, spirit, and especially the spirit part of things, would you say that your fear of death has gone down by exploring that?
In some ways, yes. My fear of death has decreased. I'm still aware of fear of death. I think about it in other aspects of my life, people that I love, and there's acceptance. There's acceptance to that I continue, and I trust that.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for joining us today and sharing a little bit about your journey. I mean, I think what makes you so amazing, Jeannine, is that it's been 15 years, and you're not someone who got a clean bill of health after 3 years and has been completely in remission ever since then. This is something that you've unfortunately had to continue to deal with now and again. You've had those two surgeries, one of them which was just 2 years ago now. But what's so amazing is that these 15 years have been so full of, a deepening for you of health and healing and an exploration. And in fact, that's really kind of your life's work now, right? Is you help other people understand the importance of addressing the body, the mind, and the spirit, regardless of what they're trying to heal. Do you want to say a bit more about your work these days?
Absolutely. I connected to my purpose in this lifetime earlier, to improve quality of life and cancer survival for cancer patients. And as I've done that, I have, after going through the cancer communities and working for the National Cancer Institute and the Food and Drug Administration and the National Institutes of Health Complementary and Alternative Medicines Clearinghouse, I started my own business, and now I work as a cancer coach and navigator. I do writing and consulting and public speaking, again, about integrative cancer care for the whole person to improve quality of life, cancer survival, and cancer prevention. I have a website, www.JeannineWalston.com, with educational information on the topic. And I'm always happy to help cancer patients and businesses in their process.
Oh, great. Yeah, and what I love about your website is there's so many rich articles there for free that cancer patients can just, they could read for days, and everything you put on there you've really curated in the sense that, you made sure that it's well written and well researched. So her website is fantastic. And again, I think that you're just a wonderful example of living proof of someone who, is not, fully out of the woods yet, maybe, but you work on your health and your happiness every day, and that has in your opinion, led to you to really beat the odds? I mean, you weren't supposed to be here for more than 5 years, and now it's 15, and there will be many more, I'm sure.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. It's a joy to be here, and I'll continue.
Yes, you will. So, any final advice for the cancer patients or their loved ones who might be watching this interview?
My advice is to be proactive and to take charge. You know, I don't think we're necessarily in control. We can certainly influence, and we can do it with skills. And when people don't have those knowledge and those skills, they can seek assistance. And everyone needs help. Everyone needs help. And creating a team, you know, of support. You know, the social support system is so important. Creating providers are essential, and certainly creating an integrative cancer care plan will, again, you know, improve how people feel and improve their survival in the process. And again, it's reducing cancer risk, cancer prevention, you know, for people to take control.
Yeah, exactly. That's great advice. Be proactive, because who knows how quickly your tumors would have grown had you not been being so proactive with your health every day. You know, I think we can say you've absolutely lengthened your survival because of all the work you've done. So you're living proof of being proactive, and that it works.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you, and thank you so much for your incredible work. It's so important to share for the insights that you have and that you're sharing to the world, and I'm looking forward to your book.
Thank you. Yep, it'll be out in March. So for more information about these kinds of remissions, you can go to my website, radicalremission.com, and to learn more about Jeannine and her incredible 15-year survival story and her work, you can go to JeannineWalston.com. Thanks so much, Jeannine, for joining us, and we will see you in another 5 years for a follow-up interview. How does that sound?
Looking forward to it, Kelly. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you again.